Gen X population, my time and my era, I think we did a few things right. We grew up in an era where action movies actually made you a man. Action movies actually taught you how to be a real man. It wasn't really violent per se, because for that time, it was actually the thing to do. And when I was up and coming as a boy, as a kid, I was always around very athletic men, older men, mature men, and I was always a late bloomer in life. Like, I didn't have all this muscle mass, and I wasn't lean. I was very skinny, scrawny. I had no idea on what it took to become a man, and I didn't know that it requires a lot for you to go out there. Sometimes shut off from society, go ghost mode, go dark, and just work in yourself and stay down until you come up. But also surround yourself with the right mentors and the right teachers and the right athletes, as such, that have been through the ringer per se. This is what's missing in today's modern day, soft era times that we're in, because we cannot call someone out on their bluff. We cannot we cannot correct someone. We have to land the plane gently, right, without the feelings being hurt as such. So there's a lot of sensitivity in today's climate that we live in, and I position my subject matter today as such as that I think the Gen X population, we had it right, man. We really had it right. I've covered this in passing in my other videos. I slowly remember the time when we started growing out of the Rocky Balboa, the Van Damme, Rambo movies, Arnold, um, all those action stars, that still continued to come about in the 90s and 2000s, but even then it was dying out. But I think that that era, that style of movie making really instilled a sense of guide, like a direction for us guys to watch those movies, listen to the soundtracks. I don't know about you, but we were always at parks at the wee morning hours when everyone was asleep. Everyone thought that we were a Rocky Balboa. Everyone wanted to look like Van Damme. The guy's a good-looking man, right? He could not only carry his weight, but he could move in certain ways that the martial arts world hadn't seen, with so much grace and fluidity, right? So we come from that generation, from that time. So it really left a mark on us men, us boys, on how we grew up and how we embraced our masculinity in that sense. So I'm painting the picture for you as such, is because we were taught at an early age, as guys, as men, as young boys, to go out there, go out in society. It's going to be tough. You're going to have to be the Rocky. You're going to have to fight your way and earn your respect. And they are no easy handouts. No one's going to feel sorry for you. You're going to go and have to fight your own battles, kiddo. And that's the environment that we grew up in, right? So once again, if you saw a situation where you were outclassed and you were essentially had to fight your way through the system, right, through the ranks of a group of boys or a friend circle, you have to establish and come up the ranks, either get jumped and win the fight, or get beat up and still earn your respect and walk away because you weren't a little beat. Now that I've painted the picture, now let's move over to the dating aspect. Because when today's modern day women and girls who basically do not respect themselves, because they're all getting flown out and blown out, and they are self-objectifying themselves on the internet by selling their virtues, if you know what I mean. Trying to be very polite, right? And the same women are telling all generations of men, right? Either you are toxic, or you're a misogynist, or you are weak, or be a man, and all these shaming tactics that they just throw out. Nobody holds them accountable, right? And these young girls, even like I have people in my family too, right? Nieces, nephews, and cousins that have no idea what generations previously have done prior to them even being born, and 2 generations removed, being so entitled today. Like, they don't know how men and boys came up during this time. I would even throw in the millennials there, because at least even they had some common sense to say the least. And so I think even that in that class, that generation, the millennials are also seeing some of these um, fallouts as they transition themselves into the Gen X space now, crossing over. That guys, we actually had to make a serious psychological, emotional effort to go ask a girl out, right? We didn't have the internet sensation as such. Like we were there, I think, with MySpace, but like you would have to pay to see certain things. Like I'm talking about secrecy. Like you didn't have Instagram just putting out everyone's business, right? That you can literally see your private parts. I think, in a sense, I've had to decrease my scroll time and just sort of detox of what my eyes are actually seeing. And at first, I don't mind the free show, right? But then it got old fast over the years. Every girl started looking the same. It's the same cheeks. It's the same set of upper body stuff, right? It's but different shape, different size, different colors, same figure. Everyone's getting enhancements, and then not to mention the filters that are available for them to look a certain way. In my experiences, personally, I look like how I look in my pictures, and girls have told me that you look better in person. I'm like, okay, I will take that. Again, I'm a pretty old man. I'm 49 years old, Gen X. I've seen life a little bit. Check out my playlist to get the gist of what I do on this channel. It's not just about fitness, wellness, nutrition, all of that. It covers life. You just can't get to this point and not share stories about life, right? So as a man coming up, as a boy, the keys are handed to you by a father, and your father was handed keys by his father, the grandfather. There was a masculinity standard, like women would not step in when it's men fighting, right? When men are schooling each other behind closed doors in the garage, in the backyard, by way of a little violence, and little blood happens to pop out, and you have some altercations, which is good for you, I think, and fighting your way out of a bullying situation as well. Seek the right help, learn how to fight, right? Lift weights and learn martial arts, learn a fight skill, and use the art appropriately. And that's how I grew up, right? So I grew up in an environment where martial arts heavily influenced how I came up the ranks and how I grew up and how I had to earn my stripes, coming up as a kid. We had to learn all of these skills to go out in the marketplace and then ultimately ask that one girl that we saw, right? We'd have to ask them out, introduce yourself. This is what you call having a little bit of game, right? And a lot of us back then, I got to say, we had it, man. And I think this is why the game and the gift of gab, per se, you got to know how to talk. You got to know it's not even manipulation, it's building a rapport, a relationship. Like courtship was actually a thing. And I think personally, this is where you're going to see me have a balanced approach. I think courtship actually exists today. It does exist today, but I think what's also happened is the environment and the culture, the dating and even marriages and relationships has become so toxic is because we have succumbed to comparison schemes and highlight reels on the internet, Instagram, dating apps, news, right? Seeing other couples, because let me just tell you this, man. As happy as I am being a bachelor, right, by choice and dating short term, no one's ever fully 100% happy. No one fully ever has it 100% together. Like everyone's got a demon. Everyone's fighting a battle, right? On the flip side, I could argue loneliness, right? It's a big factor. But the price that I have paid for it is I would rather be alone strategically and conserve and preserve my peace and quiet, because I don't need her there 24 hours. I think this is why marriages today lack that spice and the spruce aspect of it. Keep things exciting is because you're always seeing each other. But let me take a step back. Boredom is part of the equation. You're not always going to be chasing the thrill. You have to be okay with just chilling out with your girl, right? Or your whatever your preference is. And when I take a step back, most dudes today, younger men, don't even ask girls out, right? And I don't blame them. Look at the crisis. Look at the modern day market. Look at the dating outstanding. I mean, outlandish demands. They have a grocery list of items of what every man should bring to the table, right? Regardless of what age they are, their life experiences. I mean, I'm seeing this. It's an old adage, right? It never changes. Like they keep getting older, but the standards just keep getting ridiculously higher. So they're not willing to check off compromise, right? And they all want the 1% to 10% men, right? That's the name of the game. But honestly, the cold, harsh truth of all of this is biology has never spared anyone, any woman from off of any generation. Today, the advantage of this is we can prolong some of the aging aspects of it through Botox, right, through fillers and all these other stuff these girls are, which is why everyone is looking like a mini junior Kim Kardashian. Like they all have that frozen look. For a minute or two, it was looking good, right? I would admit it. But now all chicks almost look like the same. You know, they all look Persian. They all want to buffer up their, fill up their lips, and it just looks off with some of them. You know, and even my ex girlfriend from Colombia, she's trying to get a lip job done for forever. And when I see the before and after pictures, they look older, and it just looks off, man. You know, it just looks off. Some people can pull it off. Some people can pull off that look, but not everyone. Like, there's some people, you know, when you have these procedures, it ages you. Like, you just look wacko, man. And this is where you start becoming part of the masses. Like, you start looking like every other chick. There's nothing special about you. There's nothing natural about you. And this is something that us Gen X men, we didn't have to deal with all of this, where we were okay with nature, natural stuff, you know, this natural attraction, the smell, the pheromones, the natural body, the chemistry. And you want to make some changes, you make it holistically. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those procedures, but I think it's overly done to the point where you're trying to act like you're plastic. Like you're trying to act like you don't take a shit, you don't take a, you know, you don't piss. Like you're always looking like that. Like the power, the delusion to preserve that plastic look for 24 hours and to just be attached to a highlight reel is ridiculous. So if you're so into yourself like that, right? Like if you're so obsessed with yourself, right? How do you make space for any guy to come up and ask you? And mind you, every chick's looking for the 1 to 10%, between 1 to 10% man. Like you all are looking for that. Forget the courtship, man. Like these girls are also being, these women, generally speaking, they're so used to toxic behavior, toxicity, that if you treat them right, God forbid, it's happened with me. If you treat them right, they might actually just leave you. Like things could be that perfect, guys. I'm not kidding you. This happened with my ex-girlfriend. Like things were perfect. Like you couldn't ask for a better boyfriend. Like I'm like, this is where I kind of crossed my own barriers and compromised my own teachings and preachings, because I'm human after all, and I can admit the mistake and I'll take accountability. This is why I'm doing these videos, is that I don't know at what stage in our one and a half year relationship where I was doing all the work, that the more I did, the less she was interested. Go figure, right? And she started losing interest and pulling away. And it's almost like I put all my chips and cards on the table and called her bluff by being so good to her. If you don't believe me, guys, if you really think I hate, you know, women, I don't. I love women. I am so attracted to them, right? I have a very high drive when it comes to my attraction, but I can also self-contain and self-control myself and be cold-hearted. Like I have it in me. That's maturity, emotional maturity, and understanding your audience and the situation, that the era that we're in today. But you take a look at my playlist and you take a look at the good times I gave her, right? Of course, I enjoy too. And I think it's an even exchange, because, you know, she's turning 30 in less than 8 months, you know. So, and she started putting on weight, right? The good times equals weight gain. And I made her promise me that, you know, you're not going to gain any weight. And if you want the good times, you're going to have to give me and maintain this figure. And she told me that her genetics is as such that their bloodline gains weight and all the women are overweight. So, you know, I didn't want to put up with that for a long term thereafter. I knew what was coming. Like she got lazy, essentially. Fast forwarding to all of this is that I kind of got lucky with this chick because she was actually pretty cool. But going back to my, how I got her was through a dating app, and I just basically asked her, like, hey, let's grab a drink. I thought she was a fake profile. She said, let's go. And then we met at MGM, and we began seeing each other frequently, and it was a decent ride. But I treated that relationship really like as if I would have as a Gen X man would. And I realized that I have done so much good for her that she is not going to find that treatment in the marketplace. I can guarantee it, man. I was so understanding. Gen X men, for the most part, right? Don't get me wrong. There's horrible situations and circumstances in every generation that's come and gone, that's preceded us, right? Even in today's modern days, there's a lot of domestic violence. I want to skip all of that. I'm talking about majority of the cases when you normalize all of this, like when you look at it normally from a lens, globally even, but especially in the West, these chicks are used to getting their hair pulled, getting slapped around. They are used to the toxic guy discarding them and kicking them to the curb because they are attracted to that toxic dude. And that toxic dude, now going back to my earlier stories, have all of those characteristics and traits that make them toxic is what they love, the masculinity. Going back to my fighting days, the time, the era that we grew up in, that is the confidence that allows us to approach a girl and not be scared of rejection and look past the fear. Essentially, Gen X, we had no shame, right? We spit our game. That's the most slept on generation from that sense. There was no fear for the most part. And we would help our brothers and boys that, hey, look at him. John got this girl. She's a baddie, right? Now let me help you, boy. Let me help you, bro. This is how you do it. Let's send her a note, leave her a note there. Walk up to her, ask her out to the prom, man. Like, take her flowers, hold her books, walk her to the car. Like, all these things meant something. These are innocent, beautiful courtship courting gestures that just simply doesn't hold up in today's society. So how do you even build a genuine rapport, a relationship, when everything off rip, right? Everything off rip is monetized. I said it, and I've said this before. Everything is monetized. Everything is being looked at from a transaction standpoint. I've done some videos on dating crisis today, dating market, why married people are on dating apps, right? The monetized dating marketplace, why men are not crying on the internet. It's women that are crying on the internet, going through tough times because fewer and fewer and fewer men are getting married of all ages. We have figured it out. We are enjoying the peace and quiet. We love a companion, but not at the expense of our health, the mental health. You got to protect that peace. And if you invite a woman in this day and age into your personal space and life for a temporary season and a rhyme or reason, yeah, sure. But just remember, for the long term, it's chaos. It's chaos. It's chaotic emotions, right? I used to find myself cleaning my girl's, cycle, like her, the period. The blood would be on my toilet pan and wet wipes. I didn't even tell her. Like, I was just very understanding that, hey, you're on a cycle. What can we do? Like, you're at my place, so I'm just gonna have to clean it up. But I never told her, right? It's on my videos. One of my, if you look at my playlist, look at the latest videos, couple of them, you'll figure out why we eventually went our own ways. Is because she just became, I wouldn't say reckless. She just stopped caring and taking care of herself, self-maintenance, and she gained some size. And I think the timing was right because she's going to have to deal with herself. And that's it. I've hit her on the nail. Is that I think she knew that my time with her was up, that I was too good for her. And I've been in situations with her in a social setting, environment where I kind of saw the type of guys that she was drawn to and she flirted with. They were nowhere close to my standards. It was always like a downgrade. I'm like, at least the ones I'm flirting with, like the girls that I'm flirting with, they were Latinas and they were hotter than her. They were hotter than her. And I know I could have pulled it. I could have pulled them, but I didn't take it there. I just kept it very surface level. I have taste. I have great taste. But I liked her personality, which faded over time. And she had to show herself. She had to show her cards. And I think most women today don't want to be traditional. Landing the plane now. Most women today don't want to be traditional wives. They don't like they think that they're being, what is it, repressed or oppressed. That's the word, oppressed, right? By being subservient, or whatever words you want to be using, right? To play the traditional roles. Then my question is, if you want the traditional life and he must have all these six figure this, six figure that, six cylinder this, 6 foot this, then what are you bringing to the table by way of making his life easier, right? Because you surely as hell are not going to be bringing any peace and quiet. So what exactly are you bringing to the table, and what benefit is there for him to actually walk you down that aisle that you've been dreaming of as a little girl? So you like the idea of tying the knot. You like the idea of the Instagram moment and your big day, and it is your day, but you just don't like to fulfill the role. So going back to the days of when I grew up, we had purpose. We had vision. And back then, that whole concept of going to school, getting your education, learning a skill, fight skill, playing sports, and having a name in society and being respectful, being traditional went a long way. And courtship actually held, everyone would talk about how he courted the girl, and their friendship. They used to be a thing, such as a friendship at first before you would go the distance and she would give herself to you. It took a few dates to get there back in the day. These girls today have already been piped out. As sadly as that sounds, as sad as that sounds, but they have already engaged in the deed, right? So what is the wedding like? What are you getting when that big day comes for you? What are you getting as a guy? There's nothing there. There's nothing there. They've already given, as a guy, you're being held to those traditional values and vows, but these women are anything but traditional. For all the reasons I just gave you, for all the reasons I've covered in videos preceding this, and examples I've shared, testimonials, right? Other videos I've covered. What is the guy getting? That's the question to ask, which is why I think that Gen X is one of the most slept on generations out there, and we still are being slept on, but I'm seeing more and more of us out there in the community speaking up and sharing our stories and giving back to society, like hopefully how I am. It's beautiful sunset behind me. So I wanted to at least come back out here and finish my walk and get my steps in today, because last night was rough, guys. I'm going to start ending the video here. Last night was rough. I got a new job offer. I accepted it yesterday. I'm going to talk about that on the next video a little bit. There's so much adrenaline. I couldn't sleep. Probably didn't sleep till like 3:30, 4 o'clock. But had to wake up at 8 o'clock to do some important errands. And I felt the weight of lack of sleep later on in the day. So this also impacts your fat burning capacity, weight gain, right? Water weight, stress, the cortisol, all of this. So I want to come here and knock this out probably and just release it right away and call it an early night and get ready for the weekend. Whew. Got a little euphoria of walking here, going back to my first love for walking. So I've done about, let's see, nearly 30 minutes by the time it's all said and done. Good 30 minutes. My routine will be to go home, have dinner, and do another walk before bed. Folks, thank you for joining. I'm almost at 500 subscribers, and I know I'm going to get there. It's very slow, but I'm going to get there. Every YouTuber has their day. I'm not perfect, but I'm showing up almost every week, if not every other day. Okay? Till the next video, guys, take care. I'm out.